Let's see. You get a car. You get a car. And oh yeah, you over there. You get a car too. So you all get a car. So anyway, Het-Heru, Assalamu alaikum, Namaste, Haru Nefer. This is Kasankma Keperu with another exciting video for you. In this video, I want to talk about how to make contact with the gods. But before I do that, I want you to hit the like button. And if this is your first time to my channel, welcome. Subscribe so you can get notifications on when I go live in the future. And also share this video with family and friends because we want to get this revolution started and get the planet out of 3D and into 4D and perhaps into 5D. Who knows? Things are just crazy, you know. So let's get to the subject matter at hand, which is how to make contact with the gods. And get my magic wand here. There was a gentleman that I went to priesthood with, and I was talking to him about magic wands and how important they were because he left the priesthood around the same time I did. And hold on, do I look cooler without my glasses or not? Let me see. I'll leave them on. Anyway, so I gave him a site that had some really powerful magic wands, and they were very expensive. They're like $500 to $1,000. So he actually purchased one. So he was really getting into the whole magic wand thing. So he saw the use of it. So I really advise that if you haven't got a magic wand yet, to do so as part of your arsenal, your magic arsenal, you know, so that you can conduct your rituals to be more, I should say, to increase the power in your rituals, to have what you want and what you desire come to fruition. Because wands, they can be of great help if you pick the right one. Make sure that when you get the wand that you cleanse it, you charge it, and never ever let anyone else touch it. I had worn some crystals, and I went out. And people, when I go out, they usually recognize me because, you know, they either recognize me from the YouTube videos or the fact that I wear these crystals. And these two girls from Canada came up, and immediately, they were young, you know, one girl comes up and she grabs the crystals, and I'm like, oh man, now I gotta go cleanse these. And then the girlfriend's like, you're not supposed to touch those. And I'm like, okay, it's all right, but the deed is done, you know, that they can do now. I'm gonna have to take them home and cleanse them, you know. But, you know, it's my fault for wearing them in public because people will do that because they are an interesting topic of discussion and people want to know about them. And they typically ask, well, what is this color? What is that color? What are they for? And I, you know, pretty cordial and I'm, you know, very social. So I do explain the different crystals or stones and what they're used for. But, going back to what I was saying, how it relates, some magic wands will have different stones or crystals attached to them. You can even get chakra wands, which have different color stones as related to different chakras on your body. So if you get that chance, you get it. You don't have to pay a lot of money for a magic wand. You know, you really don't. But if you want to go full magi and pimp it up, you can spend $500 to $1,000 or even $1,500. There are services online where people will actually create the wand for you. And if you're not familiar with how magic wands are, they're usually they were made of wood from the holly tree. This is where Hollywood gets its name from. You know, so there's no real, I should say. But there is a kind of process that you should apply when you're creating a wand if you want to build your own. But you have to go by what is comfortable for you, you know, because you're going to be working with it. And the wand is important because the wand is going to speak to you and you will be casting spells with the wand. So that's important. Like as I've given you an example, I've worked with this wand for years. And the reason why is because it's very powerful. It has an energy to it. You know, when you pick it up, you will feel the energy. And I told the story before about how another member of the priesthood and I went to an occult store, and he actually found this wand. He picked it up, and he was like, "Kasank, hold this for a second." He wanted to show me, so I held it. I was like, "Ah, that hurts. That's a lot of energy there." He goes, "Yeah." So I said, "Well, I got to have that wand." So I purchased it right on the spot, and I've been working with it ever since. But I have used other wands. And I don't know what happened to them. I think I stopped using them. And there's somewhere in my my lab, I have a little laboratory. But I have all kinds of oils and powders and mixers, and things get lost there, you know. Um, there was a child that came over once, and she got lost in there. I wonder what happened to her. Maybe she's still in there. I don't know. But anyway, yeah, I've always wanted, since I was a kid, I think I explained this in a video prior, to, you know, I used to watch the Munsters, and Grandpa had his own lab with all kinds of incantations and powders and elixirs. So I always wanted that. So I started creating my own, and over the years it's grown. So I have a lot of stuff, you know, a lot of stuff. Some of the stuff I need to get rid of, you know, I have a lot of herbs and everything that's been hanging there. So back to what I was saying, I was actually just making small talk so I could greet the Magi as they come in. Karneta Het-Heru, Tekia and Peru Nefer, great PR ruler, civilized Allah. Het-Heru, welcome. Michael, good to see you, brother. Namaste. And who else do we have in here? I love you guys, your names. Your names are great. Ira, Het-Heru. Okay. Let me see who else is in there. All right. I want to create a screen name that says exalted ruler of the entire universe, because I have those dreams, you know, and maybe in one of my lives, I am the exalted ruler. Of course, I would surround myself with gold because I love gold. And there would be a magical dragon that would protect the gold, you know, and those who could slay the dragon could have the gold, you know. So let me stop being silly. Okay. So let me, Nicholas, Het-Heru. Lucifer, the god of alchemy. Interesting. So to all my Magi's, don't forget the like button. And let me put the link in to donate if you guys are so inclined that you want to donate to the channel. And it helps me to make more great videos. So let's talk about how to get in contact with the gods. Let's really get into the nuts and bolts of this, because I wanted to talk more about this subject simply because I feel that a lot of people really don't get it when it comes to this subject, you know, and it pains me because what I see is that they treat the gods very trivial. But when it comes to things like Jesus or Allah or Buddha, it's very serious, you know. But when it comes to the Egyptian gods, everybody takes it with a grain of salt. Now, I want to explain something, that the Egyptian deities, Namaste, Aset Ma'at, how are you, Het-Heru? I want to say that the Egyptian gods predate all other gods from the other cultures, okay? Let's get that straight. In fact, one of the oldest gods that were worshipped was Heru, or Horus, and Ptah, okay? And the reason why that's important for you to understand is that when you create a deity, it's kind of like creating a sigil or a thought virus or a pendulum or a ergogore. It exists in the ether as an archetype. It exists because when you go back to ancient Egypt, they did massive rituals to these deities. I mean, you had the entire nation coming together to do rituals to these deities. And those sacrifices, those rituals, the energy went up to the ether and empowered the archetype, the deity. So that energy is still there. So I want you to understand something. The Egyptian gods are just as real as your Jesus, as your Allah, as your Muhammad, as your anything. They are just as real. And to not pay homage to them or not take them as serious is to do a real disservice to them. You should be praying to Sebek. You should be praying to Aset. And let me clarify something too. We cherry pick what deities we want to take serious. Most of the community, I've noticed, takes Ma'at very serious, but we don't take Harukahuti serious, or we don't take Sekert serious. All right. So we have to get into the habit of treating them all equally and calling upon them when we need their services, or on a daily doing our rituals to these different deities. This is a real problem in the community because we for some strange reason don't believe in the deities, don't believe in the gods. You should be talking to them as if they're living, breathing people. Have conversations with them, pray to them. That's what our ancestors did in ancient Kemet, ancient Egypt. Don't go over, don't pull this crap where you'll pray to Jesus, and then when it comes to Huti, you know, don't take him serious or give lip service to the fact that you recognize him as a deity, but you don't do any offerings to Huti or Thoth or Hermes. These deities are individual divine entities that you should be communicating with and that you should respect. This is one of the reasons why I left the priesthood, because we were treating the deities as intelligences, as intelligent energies, which they are, but they are personalities. They exist. Well, that's the problem. You say I pray to Ma'at, and that's a good thing. But too many people have their favorite deities, and Ma'at is one of the most popular ones, and we neglect the other deities, and that's a problem. Because there's certain situations, like when you're trying to get justice. Say, for example, you and someone's done you wrong, you need to send Harukahuti after them, not Ma'at. You understand? So let's get in the habit of treating the deities as if they are divine entities. Now, with that said, how did our ancestors make contact with them? How did we communicate with them? Well, first and foremost, it was through the Oracle of Thoth, the Oracle of Tehuti. We communicated with the gods through the Oracle, through God's divine intelligence, the Oracle of Tehuti. Now, if we want to get more sophisticated, I'm sure you will, you want to speak specifically to certain deities like Ma'at, like Seker, like Ptah, like Ra, understandably. But then you're going to have to construct a shrine, and then you're going to have to treat the deity with respect. Now, let me key you in on something. Your disrespect of the deities is not going to cause them to lose sleep. It's not going to cause them to come after you with fire and brimstone. The deities don't do that. They respect you as a god as well. They respect your ability to choose, your will, to the point of where they will allow you to disrespect them. And they're not going to come after you. They're not going to bestow bad fortune upon you. They're not going to do that. That's not what they do. They're divine. We can set up a reading for you. The book comes out the ebook, the new Kepra comes out March 25th. It's going to be awesome. It's going to be awesome. So I don't want you to be fearful that if you don't do something right, the gods are going to, like do a spell or hex on you. That's not going to happen. But it would be to your favor. It would behoove you to treat them with respect. Because when and we're getting into NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, or we're getting into how the mind works here, because I always approach things from a so-called scientific perspective, because I don't have, science is very limited in its understanding of the esoteric. But when you start to respect the deities and you treat them as divine entities, what it's communicating to the subconscious mind is it's bestowing faith upon something, which is why you have an iconography of Osir and all the other deities. Because when you have that pictorial representation, it's easier for you to reference them, and it's easier for you to build your faith. Faith is a very important part of magic. So when you're communicating with the deities as if they are real, you are instilling faith within the subconscious mind, which, as if you read Michael Talbot's book, The Holographic Universe, and when he interviews individuals who were able to manipulate the matrix, he found one common denominator, that they had a very strong sense of faith. And that allowed them to manipulate the matrix. So when you are placing your faith in the deities as real divine entities, and you are petitioning them, it activates the Chi Ra force within you. Now, let me take it a step further. How do we make contact with them? There's two ways to make contact with the deities, okay? Are you ready for this? You guys want to take notes? And I'm going to reference Buddhism as one example. In Buddhism, they have the beads where you're counting the prayers and the beads, and you're doing it through repetition, and you're saying prayers through repetitions. Also, you have that in Islam. And sometimes you have to, in India too, the Hindu religion, where you have to recite a mantra 1,008 times. I'm going to tell you why you have to do that, all right? Not specifically about the mantras, because the mantras has an energy vibration. I'll get into that later. But when you are engaged in something through repetition, it takes it from the waking state, the conscious mind, to the subconscious mind. Now, you need to understand also there's no such thing as the unconscious mind, because you're always conscious. It's just a level of depth. So when you transfer something from the waking state, the conscious mind, to the subconscious mind, you access the realm of the ether. And this is where you have the different planes of existence and where the deities are that you can access. And I talked about the archetypes, because you're empowering the energy, the deities, through your prostration to them, and you're giving them energy. This is why you have to recite something 1,008 times, because it takes that amount of time to penetrate the depths of your psychic defense. Let me explain that. You have a defense mechanism that's up that keeps things from getting deep into the recesses of your subconscious mind. This is why you'll notice when you have subliminal seduction, the thing that they do is repeated often, because you have your blockers up that don't allow it to penetrate too deep into the depths of your subconscious mind. But when it is repeated often and frequently and framed in a certain way, it eventually gets down to the depths of your subconscious mind, and you become programmed with the thought virus or whatever it is they want to instill upon you. So when you're trying to communicate to the deities, you have to get through your psychic defense to penetrate to the realm of where they exist. And it's said in the ancient Kemetic scriptures that they exist in the Duat, D-U-A-T, the underworld, or if you want to call it that. So in your normal state, when you're putting up your shrine and you're paying tribute to the deities, you're not going to make contact to them unless you are reciting the prayer a number of times, say, for example, 1,008 times, or you're doing that ritual through repetition many, many times. And there will become a point where you will get and penetrate to that depth to where they will receive your message. Do you understand what I'm saying? But as you are in your normal state, your psychic defenses are up, so nothing can penetrate that. This is why when they want to reprogram you, or you have something you need to deal with, you go to a hypnotherapist and they hypnotize you. They take you away out of the waking state to the subconscious state, because that's where the deities are. The subconscious state is the realm of nonlinear space-time. It's also the realm of the 5D, fifth dimension. This is why in Islam, they have you repeat prayers over and over again. It makes you sick. It's like, Jesus. It's the same thing when I was in the Nation of Islam. As the captain, I was giving the individuals who were the soldiers, we were teaching them how to march, and we would do it every day, so that they could take those exercises and transfer it to the subconscious mind to where they can march in sequence without even thinking about it, that it was on autopilot. Now, let me tell you the other way of making contact with the deities. Oops. This is Heru, also known as Horus, and Horus is where we get the term hour from. Just like Ma'at is where we get the term math from. Okay, so when we want to recognize Heru or any other deity, we go Neterak. And Neterak just basically is just saying exalted one or one of power, you know. In fact, when we would greet the high priest in our order, we couldn't just walk and say Het-Heru. We had to go Neterak. And that's a way of giving them power and recognizing them for achieving a certain level. Just like we don't call the high priest Pharaoh, we call them Shechem, and that means power. Okay. The other way that we contacted the deities, let me put Heru back, sorry. Okay. The other way that we contacted the deities is, Nicholas, you just brought up a good point. I want to touch on that point. We protect Heru and Ma'at. That's a very good point. I want to, let me just take a short departure and talk about that. I want everyone in the community, and I just don't mean my magi's, I mean everybody. Oh, Het-Heru, Diana, peace and blessings. I want everyone to get to the point of where you would die to protect yours. You see, what I'm imparting to you is a spiritual way of life. I made a mistake. I had a friend, formerly a friend, who emailed me about 2 years ago. I think it was, actually a little longer than that, 3 years ago. And it was a very nasty email. He said, I've seen your videos, and individuals like you who scam the community, who preach this metaphysical nonsense, should be dealt with. And don't you ever send me another video like this again. So me being nice, I wrote back to him, well, you know, you can unsubscribe at any time. The unsubscribe link is in the bottom of the email. You don't need to write me to say you don't want to subscribe to my videos. But looking back upon that, what I should have did and really said, if you ever send me an email like that, I will come personally to your house and put my foot up your ass, you know. Not in those words, of course. But what I'm saying to you, my beloved, is this. Protect your religion. Protect your spirituality to where you'll be ready to go to war over it. I don't mean physical war, but I mean if someone encroaches upon your belief, they have no right to do that. You don't see me on Christian channels telling them, oh, you're believing in the wrong things. I leave them alone and they leave me alone. So this so-called friend who emailed me needed a kick up the ass. And I dealt with it appropriately because I deal with things magically. You know, people who disrespect me don't understand that I'm not going to sit there and argue with you or get to a physical altercation. I'm going to put some voodoo hex on you. That's exactly what I'm going to do, because that's the way our ancestors dealt with stuff, you know, quietly going, okay, okay. And then behind the scenes, putting herbs and stuff together. And the next thing you know, you have profound bad luck. So be careful who you're messing with. It also teaches you, as what Aset had just mentioned, Stoicism. It teaches you how you don't need to get emotionally upset over something somebody says. You can just do what you need to do, quietly address it in a proper way. And this is how we address situations in the magical community. We do cast spells. We do these things. I was speaking with another magi, and he's not associated with me, but he deals in demonology. So he deals with the study of demons and the evocation of demons, which I don't get into. But he was telling me, he says, yeah, there are many people in the magical community, when a politician or something is, someone is not elected that we want, they send a demon after them. And then that's when you'll see individuals suddenly get into car accidents, individuals die from heart attacks because we have dealt with them in the way we see fit. And I totally understand that, because in every order, the mob, you'll see mobs have hits on individuals that get out of pocket. I'm not saying that that's what you should be doing, because you should always strive to have that person become enlightened, to see the light. You don't need to take them off this plane of existence. You don't need to do that. But I understand that they are using their power through magic to deal with things. Because sometimes, and this leads me back into the second way of communicating with the gods or getting in contact with them, because there are certain times when the judicial system fails us. At certain times, most times it fails us. And the only way we can deal with the situation, because we've exhausted all other means, is through magic. And we have yet to tune into that power. I don't know how many times we're going to sit there and allow this monkey court system to let these corrupt police officers. There's not all police officers are corrupt. There are some that are very good. In fact, some of my heroes in my own family were police officers, but there are some that are very bad. But the court system is not where you're going to get justice, because this court system is run and orchestrated by those who are evil. So then, in this case, you have to turn to Ma'at. You have to turn to Harukahuti. You have to appeal to them for justice. You have to make contact with them. Okay? So what I'm saying to you is that you're going to need the deities. And if you have not built up a proper relationship with them, and what I mean by that is treating them as real entities, then forget it. You're not going to get their help. Again, they're not going to bestow bad luck upon you, but you have to build that relationship with them. And you have to protect your spirituality, your religion. I hate to call it a religion. Religion means to tie back to. But for the sake of facilitating this conversation, we can say religion. You have to protect it. Okay? Now, one of the things that I teach that's different from the occult community and the community of other magi's is that I want you to clearly understand that you are God. Literally, you are God. Now, some people come along and go, Kasant, that doesn't make any sense. You say, I am God, but then again, here I am appealing to God for help. You have to accept the idea of duality. This is something that we in ancient times had no problem with, because we operated from both the left and right hemispheres of the brain. We knew how to so-called reconcile opposites. You see, Western man doesn't know how to do that. They see things in black and white, good and evil, Democrat, Republican, liberal, conservatism, male, female. They don't know how to reconcile those opposites. So when I talk to you and it seems like I'm seeming contradictory, I'm not. I'm embracing what is a natural thing in life, which is duality. You see, in the beginning, there was the one, and we're going way past time, space. We're talking about the forever and now moment where space and time did not exist. There was only the one. And who was the one? Was that God? No, it was you. It was you, the one, you. And what did you do? You looked back upon yourself and said, oh, I exist. And when you look back upon yourself, the one became the two. Thus, you brought forth duality. You said, I exist. And from that point, you created individuality. You saw that you now separated yourself from yourself. So now you can have something to interact with. Therefore, you would now have experience. In the ancient Kemetic scripture, it said, I brought myself into being. You, as God man, God woman, brought yourself into being. You just don't remember you did that, but you did. And you purposely wiped your memory clean so that you could have an authentic experience. Because if you did not wipe your memory, then you would not have a real experience. You would always remember who you were, where you came from, what your powers were, and it wouldn't be gaining experience. So you brought yourself into being, recognizing that you are now an individual, that you now existed in what we call is the objective realm, meaning the realm of objects, and that you could interact with yourself, and that you would now be subject to space-time limitation, linear space-time. Then you proceeded to interact with yourself and reincarnate over many lifetimes. But before you did that, you said, I have to lay the foundation upon which to build. So I laid the foundation as ma'at, order. And then from that foundation, you gave rise to other principles, such as energy, ra, pata, the ability to create, the great mason, sekerd, power, spiritual power, Tehuti, wisdom, supreme wisdom. You created these intelligent forces of energy to govern the universe because you didn't want to have a direct say in all of that. You wanted to say, hey, I'm going to put down order and put down these intelligent energies which will operate things, which will control the orbit of the planets and the gravitational pull. And I won't have to directly intervene. And when myself, who comes in the form of human beings, so-called human beings, needs justice, I will create a force that can administer justice called Harukahuti. Do you see how the dual principle works? Yes, you are God, but you are also the gods. And you are also you, the so-called vehicle, the human being, the avatar. Now, with that understanding, the way that you get in contact with the gods yourself, the next way, and probably one of the most powerful ways that our ancestors practice, is through sacrifice. We sacrifice in many different ways. We did human sacrifices, yes. We did animal sacrifices. We did blood sacrifices. Okay. And those were some of the most powerful ways to get in contact with the deities and to get them to grant us our wishes. Now, there's a lot of different explanations I can go into, such as that when you sacrifice an animal, the blood has a certain type of energy in it that can mix with the other herbs that will help manifest your objective. I can get into that, but that's a science of voodoo. I don't want to talk about that right now. But on a very alchemy level, to understand what that does to get you in contact with the deity, there is what we call a psychic shock, a shock of seeing a sacrifice, the shock of administering a sacrifice. That shock that you are placing yourself in, or that you go through when the sacrifice is done, ripples and gets to the core of your being. And therefore, it bypasses the psychic blocks. You ever see something, maybe a car crash, somebody get injured? You can go on YouTube and see all kinds of crazy videos of people falling out of windows. It shocks you to see that type of death, or somebody getting dismembered or something happening like that. It sends a shock wave through you. Now, if you take the seed, which is Aset, an analogy for Aset is seed, which is the objective, and you expose yourself, that shock, it goes into the deep recesses of the subconscious realm to make contact with the true self, the origin, or the deity. And then that seed takes root and then the flowers into your wish. This is part why we did sacrifices. Because the masses participating in the sacrifice would be exposed to the horrific thing. And it would have the impact on them. But prior to the sacrifice, there would be ritual and dance. And the purpose of the ritual and dance is to lull the subconscious, the conscious mind to sleep. And it'd be also the high priest, as an orator, would be feeding you the post-hypnotic suggestion or the objective. So he would seed the objective in you, whatever it would be, to get money, a good harvest. And then after the song and dance and the seeding, the sacrifice would shock and allow the seed to get deeper into the subconscious realm. This is why Oser is known as Asar, the corn god, the god of fruition. Because he is known as the god of the dead as well, because buried deep is the seed. The seed takes root, sprouts, and up comes your harvest. The Comedian people thought in puns and analogies. So they made these associations. So I want you to understand that those are the two ways. Number one, through repetition. And most people subscribe to that because it's easier and it's less shocking to do the repetition than to make a type of a sacrifice. Another form of a sacrifice is a blood sacrifice. I don't have anything here, but it's when you would cut yourself and allow the blood to spill onto the ritual table. And your blood has an energy to it. And it would add to the energy vibration of the ritual table to help your objective come to manifestation. So do you understand what I'm saying? Now, I don't want you all to go out there and start doing sacrifices because you don't need to do that. You can merely engage in the repetition of repeating your ritual on a daily basis. And that will take it from the waking to the subconscious state. And you will make contact with the deity. And don't be afraid to write notes to the deity. It's perfectly okay. I use 3x5 index cards. And if there's something that I want, I would write on the index card what I want and put a little blood on there or breathe on it. And then sit on my shrine. And then I would recite a prayer. So that's how it's done. Oh yeah, who's that? Excuse me if I mispronounce your name, but Ira Hetepu, J. Smith, Namaste. Al Quisma, I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing it, but you're saying that your own blood is better. You won't be able to kill other beings. You're a vegan. Yeah, I totally understand. And one of the first rituals I went to was the priest was doing a ritual for me. And I had to sacrifice a bird. And there was no way I was going to do that because I have a respect for all creatures and I did not want to sacrifice a bird. So it was very interesting what happened after that. You know, he gave me the bird and he says, you need to sacrifice this bird. I'm like, huh? And I knew that was going to eventually happen because I tried to prepare him saying, listen, if we're going to do some sacrifices, I'm not going to be able to do that, you know? And it's not because it's horrific to me. I mean, I'm not really startled by death or anything like that. It's just that I don't want to take another living creature's life, which is why I'm a vegan. I don't believe that we need to take the lives of animals for subsistence, okay? But anyway, my beloved, I just wanted to tell you that story. So that is it. And I'm going to tell you that when you engage in understanding the science behind rituals and magic, it helps to build your faith, knowing the mechanics of how it operates. When you are having fellowship with other magi's and trading information, trading notes, it helps you become more knowledgeable, more powerful, which is why everyone should either be on Patreon, support Patreon, or sign up to my reality manifestation course. We still have openings for that. So the link is in the description. Please sign up so you can have fellowship with other magi's and take your magic to the next level. All right. That's why I created reality manifestation, was to us to not only get into fellowship and trade information, but to take magic to the next level. Because those in the occult community or the Hotep community or New Age community, whatever you want to call it, are caught up in intellectual masturbation. They just want to get information, but very few are putting into practice this information, because it's hard to practice this every day. It's hard to set up your rituals and get the right things for the right deities and research the right mantras and do the invocations. It's not easy. That's what separates us from them. Because I want all you magi's in the chat room to be practitioners, not theoreticians. Too many theoreticians out there. Okay? You get people talking about stuff and who've never applied it and don't realize it don't work, because in the real application of things, theory comes up short. You can theorize about anything, but unless you put it into practice, hey, and this takes me back to why God created us, because God had infinite power, but did not have the experience. And that's different. So you're here as a vehicle to where this body, this aspect of Geb, contains consciousness. And the reason that it's here is to interact with itself to gain the experience. And that experience is transferred or uploaded to the oversoul. And you're constantly uploading and downloading information. So you're downloading information from previous lifetimes that are happening right now. Right now. They're not happening in the past or happened in the past. They're happening right now in the same space-time continuum. So keep that in mind. So I want to thank you all for joining this broadcast. And I hope this information has been a benefit. This is Kasakma Het-Heru, son of Ma'at and Tahuti, and my aunt is the beautiful Het-Heru Het-Thor. Until my next broadcast, Amen Ra. Peace.